Hi YouTubers, second time I have to do this video. That's why the pan already looks like it's been done. Try this again. My camera just shut off for some reason. I don't know. Anyways, I have to sit down. I'm outside, so if you hear noise, I've got a neighbor back here that decided he was going to get out his saw today and saw. And my wind chimes are going off. But anyway, I used 2 different paints and I alternated. I had already coated this pan probably, oh gosh, maybe 6 to 8 times, something like that. I kind of lost track of it. But anyway, I'm using the gloss. And basically what you want to do is you're going to spray, and you're going to go kind of heavy with it. You know, normally with spray paint you want it spread out and really thin so it doesn't show. But with this you want it wet and kind of puddly. And this is my sponge I just used from the other video. But actually, when it gets paint on it, it actually does a little bit better. It's sticky. This is a sponge that I bought in the Walmart auto department. It's like $1.87. They're really, really large sponges, and I just cut pieces off of them. And it's kind of rough, and it's textured. If you had a sea sponge, that might work a little better for this because you want the texture. But anyway, you wait until the paint starts to dry and it gets really kind of sticky, and that's when it does the best. And you just keep pouncing. And I'm pouncing it kind of hard so that it kind of grabs that paint, and you just keep doing that. Just keep doing that, and then it'll start to dry, and then you'll have to spray you some more. Spray some more on there, and you just keep doing layers of the spray paint. And I started out with just doing the gloss, and I didn't like just the way the gloss was. I think it was too glossy, so then I started intermittently switching between the matte and the gloss. So I don't know if you could just use the matte or just use the gloss. Probably would work either way. But anyway, it's still a little bit wet. But you just keep layering. You know, cast iron people, like my mother-in-law, who's a southerner, makes homemade biscuits and stuff in cast iron. You know, she rolls the biscuits and then they grease the pan really heavily and they bake it in the oven and it becomes seasoned. So that's kind of what I was going for with this, is that kind of seasoned look. Maybe been sitting out a little while, you know, that's why it got rust on it. But anyway, you just keep layering and pouncing, you know, your sponge. And I actually used, for the first couple layers, I had a piece of wadded up copier paper that I just wadded up, not real tightly, but kind of like, you know, maybe a small ball, and I didn't bring any out here with me. But the first probably 3 or 4 layers, I did it with that copier paper so that it kind of pulls that paint up. You know, you get kind of larger kind of valleys. And you have to do the layers because it doesn't look quite so flat, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But anyway, so after you get, you know, you get the spray paint on there and you get it layered up real good to where it looks kind of heavy and coated, then you're going to move to your chalkboard paint, which I've already dumped some of the chalkboard paint out here. And it's just regular acrylic chalkboard paint. And then I've got this apple barrel, which is very old paint, but it's burnt sienna is the color, and I don't know if y'all will be able to see that color. It's very kind of a rusty kind of a color. And then what you're going to want to do is, you don't use very much of the paint, but I took some of the chalkboard paint, and because I didn't like it so completely shiny, the way the spray paint kind of leaves it. I mean, they are a little bit shiny because of the grease they put on them when they get seasoned. But I just put a layer of the chalkboard paint on there, and you want to let that dry. And then what I did was, after that was dry, and I'm going to kind of work over here on this side a little bit, is you're not using a whole lot of this paint. Is I pulled, you know, like you do dry brushing in ceramics, I pulled that paint. There's hardly any paint on there, and I pulled a little bit of the sienna, kind of mixed it in there with the chalkboard paint. Oh, that's a little bit too much. It probably would have been better. When I originally did this, I had copier paper down because that's what I had tons of at the time. My daughter uses reams of paper when she draws, and now I'm using aluminum foil. But anyways, you're just going to go in there and you're going to pounce the chalkboard paint and the sienna. And I did not want a lot of the sienna. I want it so that it just barely kind of shows through. there, you guys are not going to be able to tell the change in the color. But anyway, you want to do the muffin cups, and that was the hardest part, pouncing the muffin cups. And you even have to do the muffin cups with spray paint, and you just basically are pouncing it. If you get too much, you can always go back to the chalkboard paint and cover it, you know, just put another thin layer of the chalkboard paint over it. Now, the trick was that I liked, because I got it done and it just looked kind of flat or whatever. So I went in and I got just ever so slight bit of the sienna, and I kind of just brushed it across where any of the ridges were. And you're probably not going to be able to see this on the video. I've got it on HD, but I don't know that you'll be able to see it. Just pull a little bit of that in there, and then just rub it over anywhere, you know, that there's kind of a ridge. And then I did the same thing, because these muffin cups have this line right here. I just kind of rub it so that it goes into those lines, and I didn't want any of, like, not brush strokes, because obviously this isn't a brush, but I didn't want any lines from my sponge, so I would just go back and then re-tap it, trying to blend that a little bit. And then I did it down in the bottom of the cups. Keep pulling a little bit of that sienna in there. And the bottoms, wiping it. I didn't want to see any lines, and I didn't want to see any little, like, you know, like little blobs, you know, like that. So just kind of rub it. I figured the edges would be a little more worn and a little more rusty looking. And like I said, you can always go back with your chalkboard paint, or for that matter, if you completely screw up, get your spray paint out and put another layer on there. It won't hurt anything. And you just basically pull that paint so there's just barely any paint in there, and just rub it across until you get the coloring that you like. If you want it more rusty, obviously, you know, you can use more of the sienna. But that's really all there is to it, and it's just a matter of playing with it. And like right now, it's really dark out here, so it's hard to see the color gradient on here. Well, the first time I did it, it was very sunny outside, which you can take this inside once you do the spray paint. You may even can use some other spray. I like the spray paint because it dries, you know, you spray it on real heavy and it dries quickly. You could do this with some other paint. You could probably even throw some sand and some acrylic paint, but then you have to wait in between the layers for the paint to dry. So the alternative to that, building up the layers, is the spray paint, which is stinky, and I'm not going to do it in the house. But you could do your layers with your spray paint and then take this, you know, in your craft room by your light, so you can actually see the coloring. Because I can see right now, it looks like I put a layer, you know, around here, and I don't really like that. When I did Elisa's, it was quite a bit more natural. But anyway, you want to make sure that you do the spray paint in the cups, texturing it so that the bottom of the cups aren't shiny and brand new looking. You want them to look like the top. And keep in mind about the little, you know, the ridges and around the outside. I did that too. And on hers, I did the back side. I did the entire back side as well. It took some time, but it's not hard. It's not hard to do. And that's it. That's all it is. And the rake that I just showed, I'm probably going to do the same technique to the rake, because it's easy and it looks really good. I mean, I have a pan, a muffin, it's an actual, like a cornbread pan, that I